Hello, everyone. It's been long enough. I think it's time to share my testimony, what's been going on in my life, and why you haven't seen me posting. There's been a lot. Things that I couldn't talk about. That was my charger. Things that I couldn't talk about. Let me grab it. This is going to be long, so I'm just going to take you through my stuff with me here. So, where do I even start? All right, so some of you know me, some of you don't. The ones that know me know probably already what has happened and what has changed in my life. I look different because I went back to my profession of being a hairdresser, which I had done for, it's been 26 years now. And I took 5 years off because we moved to a place where I didn't have clientele and I had 2 kids not in school. And our town was super duper quiet. So there was no way I was going to be able to make it. No way I was going to be able to pay daycare. And I came back to the Lord 6 years ago. If you haven't watched my previous videos, just to give you a recap. And that's kind of when I started this channel, around about-ish. And I came back to the Lord just after I started this channel. And so much has happened, right? Like I've become a musician. I have, so much. So, I have been with my husband for 10 years and him and I used to be like big potheads together, like that was our thing. But my conscience was killing me because I had been a Christian before and the Holy Spirit was just beckoning me. And I just see something that I want to turn on. And I missed the Holy Spirit. I felt, the lack. Once you have the Holy Spirit in your life and it's not there anymore, you can tell. You feel it. So, in returning to the Lord, it was a real struggle with my husband. I wanted to be clean, and I didn't want to smoke pot anymore. And throughout the years, even when I came back to the Lord, I would sometimes relapse because the tension on my marriage was huge, and it was the peacekeeper. And so my husband thought that me wanting to get closer to the Lord was not going to be any change in our life. And as I changed, he did not like it at all. And he was extremely critical, very rude, very depriving me of basic needs. There were times when I slept on the floor in my kids' room without a mattress for like a whole year straight by my choice, but because being in the same room with him was so incredibly tense, I really couldn't stomach it at times. And he was just such a difficult person. His demands, he was the most important person in the house, and anything that he did do for us was more like to pat himself on the back and use it against me later. But he was extremely controlling. And so during this time, just in the last year or so, I came to understand what narcissism is. And I understand that there's different levels of narcissism, and anyone who's had trauma will have traits of narcissism, myself included. And so there's varying levels, but he was just extremely against my faith and didn't want me to teach the kids about it. And it just made me cling to the Lord even more because I had nothing else, Our town was not welcoming of outsiders, even though I'm from the state of Wyoming. I really couldn't get into the cliques, and I really didn't have time to try to impress anybody when I was in a, marriage that I really didn't. I was embarrassed. I didn't want people to know what was going on in my life. And I just threw myself into the Lord and into music, and I went through a season of, my job used to be my identity, my looks, my beauty, was something that I got attention from people. So it was my identity. And the Lord just stripped me of all of that because I simply couldn't even afford to spend money on myself or have beauty products. I guess I could have, but then I wouldn't have been doing music. You know, in order to do music, I had to literally shut off my cell phone because I didn't have enough money to even pay a cell phone bill and buy used music equipment to follow this dream. And I just couldn't let this thing sink my ship, you know? And so all my previous posts, you're going to see me just like basically fighting for my life, but maybe you didn't realize that's what was happening. Fighting for my spiritual life, fighting for my sanity. My husband wasn't physically abusive, but he would push me to what's called reactive abuse, where it's like death by 1,000 cuts. Like you push a person to the point where they flip out, and that's what would happen. And then I would feel guilty, and I would feel like I was part of the problem, and you know, just it was extremely confusing. But the Lord was really speaking to me so strongly through all of that. And I just wanted to be in God's will, be used of God, be valuable, have a purpose, be a good mom, which he was constantly telling me I was failing at. He didn't like anything I did at all. He really just, I left so many times. I have left him so many times in the last 8-9 years. That every time I would come back, he would treat me worse and worse and worse. And it was impossible to leave him. We just got out of the safe house. We were there for a month. It was our second time in the safe house because he's just so, you know, like I'm not allowed to touch the bank account. I'm not allowed to pay bills even or go to the grocery store. I wasn't allowed to. And then then when the bills aren't paid, he would say that I stole the money. And I'm like, you don't even let me use the bank account. I have access to it, but he would drain it every single week. He would make sure that it was empty and the bills wouldn't be paid, and he would blame me for it. And it was killing me. It was incredibly stressful to know that he had this illegal drug in my house that could get our kids taken away. I just felt like we could not live up to the standards of our community. So I just felt so isolated and sheltered and embarrassed, and it was heart-wrenching. It was incredibly difficult, and I felt like the Lord wanted me out of it, but he wasn't making a way. And other people were telling me, like, you're out of God's will for being with him. And I'm like, I tried to leave. We literally can't. Like, we would leave. I would get a different place to live, and we would have help. We would have assistance to pay for it, and then the assistance would run out, and we would literally have to just move back in with him. And then everything would be my fault. Then I was the one who did all of this. I was the bad guy. I was ruining his life, which he still says, I'm ruining his life. He makes a ton of money. He does whatever he wants. He's always just completely spoiled himself in any way that he feels necessary. Sometimes he'll do something for us so that he can pat himself on the back. It's never something that we want. It's always something that he wants to make himself feel better. And then if it's not what we want, or if we say anything, then we're ungrateful. And it was killing me to live under that. And so the last time I had to come back to him was, we left in November of last year, and we had to come back by January, I think. And he threw out the idea of opening up a salon. And I wasn't really sure about it at first. I just thought, like, how is he going to use this against me? But I knew I can't make it like on my own any other way. I used to be very well-off hairstylist before I had children. And I spent from 1995 to 2009 doing hair as a person who had no children and single. And so I didn't have like a beautiful, amazing, enriched life, but it wasn't like this, So anyway, there's so much I could say about all of it. And a lot of you know the whole story, and maybe I'm not even doing it justice. But this last time I came back to him, I was like, I am going to kill him with kindness and just see what happens. Like, I'm just going to, like, I felt God telling me, don't fight back. Don't justify yourself, don't defend yourself, don't, like, he was literally showing me what Jesus did when he was being crucified and how he could have fought back and he didn't, and that was where his power lied. And it was so confusing to me, but I just didn't have the strength anymore to even like go there with him. So I just let him do whatever he wanted. My husband, I let him do whatever he wanted, and I just didn't even say a word, and I just took it. And during that time I started trying CBD pens because I was trying to get relief from my neck injury of 30 years ago. And I was I didn't even know that this sort of thing existed, but I was under the impression that there was no side effects and it wasn't THC, which meant that you couldn't get addicted. And I really found that to not be true about those pens. I don't think that they're fully honest about what they're made out of, and I felt it in my spirit, and I knew this isn't medicinal. I know that people will say that it is, but I experienced it, and it's not. They're not medicinal. Marijuana is not medicinal. I don't care if you don't believe that. I've lived it, and I know. And so I knew that it was time to not have that in my life anymore. But anyway, so during that process, my husband was just doing whatever he wanted. We don't own a home. There's just no talk of the future. There's no talk of what we want for our kids. There's no focusing on the kids at all, like in his mind. I was just doing it all by myself with nothing but criticism. He said he was doing everything, which I'm like, no, you just work and then, you keep your paycheck basically, and don't let me have any say in anything. I had no say in any of our decisions whatsoever. He, at this point, is completely convinced that he's the victim and that I ruined his life and that I was the one who, he swears that I'm cheating on him. He swears that I stole money. He says everything he says is completely untrue, and it's craziness. It's nuts. So things escalated more. The more freedom he had, the more I didn't say anything, the worse he got. And so by the end of it, he, come to find out, he was smoking dab, which I didn't know the effects of dab. And once I learned about what dab does to people, I knew this was a bad idea, and I needed to do something about it. And he started talking about taking out $100,000 loan for an old car that he wanted to get restored to showroom. And we don't even own a house, and he's going to take out $100,000 loan. He told me this on my birthday, didn't get me a present, totally just belligerently hateful to me at all times, telling me how worthless I am all the time, telling me how much music has ruined our life, me being a musician, and how I'm just cheating through all of it. Like, every single person knows I didn't flirt with not even one person online have I flirted with. And I can say that with the ultimate confidence. And I know, like, every single one of you, not one of you can say that I have flirted with you. Not one. And so, because that's crucial to me, because I see my life as a ministry. And if I was to do that, I'm ruining the glory that God should have. I would be ruining God for people. I would be a hypocrite in people's eyes, and they wouldn't trust God because of me. So I did not take that lightly. That was a very serious task to me that I value so much. And so when all these two things happened, about him smoking dab and him taking out the loan, I just said, that's it. I've had enough. I wasn't making any profit in my salon yet. I opened it in April. He didn't help me with anything except put forth money. He did not do one single installation of anything. He bought me some decorations and put forth some money, and then he was just like non-existent, which is how he was with everything. He was never involved in our life, really. He barely knows us, and he was playing the victim the whole time. And I'm not saying all this to defame him. I'm about to tell you what God did through all of it. Okay, because God showed me that it's not about proving him wrong. It's not about defending myself. It's not about, I'm going to get to this really, really powerful testimony that God showed me. This video, I'm sorry, it's going to be long. There's a theme to all of this. And so we left in August with nowhere to go. A friend that I had just met said, well, you can stay in my camper if you want, 45 minutes away from my work, and school was out. And so I was dragging my kids back and forth with me every day. I did not have gas money. And I was doing this because the safe house was occupied and they wouldn't let me share space in with the tenant that was there because of COVID rules, which is insane. Anyway, it just doesn't matter. But the point is, I stayed with a dear friend who let me stay in her camper. It had a water leak. We didn't have water for the first week. We were there for 2 weeks. It was incredibly stressful getting home at 8 o'clock at night and not having water and having to shower in their house and use their kitchen and use their everything, and then finding out that they felt intruded upon, which was so hard for me to understand. I couldn't grasp how this was. I don't know what's going to happen with my life. Like, the last thing I wanted to do was intrude on anybody. I love my space. Like, the last thing I wanted to do was use their shower and use their kitchen and things like that. Like, I did not want that. And it was hard because this person talked me into moving out there. And then it all really kind of blew up and backfired, and it was incredibly stressful. And so we had to leave quickly because I couldn't afford gas anymore. The gas was like $50 every 2 days. I was not making a profit in my salon. I was petrified. I got so skinny from the stress of just not even being able to eat. And this safe house is saying that they have no idea when they're going to be available. And I'm like, we're going to have to go back to him. This is going to be hell. Like, I don't know what to do, Lord. I cannot do this anymore. This is it. This is I don't know what's going to happen. Like, we don't even have a way to be homeless in Wyoming, you know? We don't even have an option to be homeless. So the safe house put us up in a hotel for 2 days, and then the occupants left the safe house, and we were able to go to the safe house. Thank God. All during this time, my car was breaking down. My Yukon was having warranty alternators replaced like 4 times in 1 month. We were getting stranded in terrible places out in the middle of nowhere. It was unreal. Like, we did not have money for these things, for these tow bills. The tow company, like, everything just got worked out. The tow company didn't charge us, which was nuts. The safe house helped us. Like, incredible things happened. God literally showed up for us. And like I said, like, a lot of people already know this testimony, but one absolutely incredible thing that happened, just one of many things that happened, was we thought we had gotten our car fixed. I needed to go to Rock Springs to pick up my daughter, which is 100 miles away, and I did not have the gas money. And I saw a post on Facebook of someone that needed a ride that was willing to pay gas, and I thought, this is great, cool. I was leery, you know, because I don't know these people. I figured it was a husband and a wife. I didn't know. So we get there and my car breaks down, and it's 2 men. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't even know these guys. Like, what if maybe my car's breaking down because these guys are murderers? Who knows? Like, I really saw it as whatever happening is right now is ordained of God, and I'm just going to go with it. Like, I have no idea what's going to happen. I didn't even have room for complaining. None. I did not even have the strength for it anymore. Like, I was broken. And we were told by our mechanic to go to another mechanic in this town that was like 50 miles away from where we lived. Where we broke down was 50 miles away from where we live. And we get there, and I show them this Facebook, you know, post. Do you know these guys? Like, are these trustworthy people? Like, I can't drive them to where they want to go, but are these creepy people? And she's like, no, these guys are completely legit. Like, you have nothing to worry about. Okay, good. All right, that's out of my mind. Nothing to worry about. I call him to let him know, I'm so sorry. I can't take you to Rock Springs the full way. And he says, well, why don't we just drive my Yukon Denali, and you can just drive it until yours is fixed. And I'm like, what? You don't even know me. We haven't even shaken hands yet. And it was an unreal day where God just rescued us. Everything fell apart and God just rescued us. Like, whoa, it was so powerful. Their Yukon Denali was different on the outside. It was white. Like, it was like God rode up on a white horse. And getting inside of that car was so similar to my car. It was eerie. It was odd how similar it was to my car on the inside. And we all drove to Rock Springs, and when we get there, he said, "You helped me out so much." And I'm like, "What? I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything. Like, you totally rescued us. Are you kidding?" So now we have like lifelong friends with these people that live in New Hampshire, but they come here for the summer. And so we only had to borrow their car for a weekend, and then my car was fixed, and it was a $20 sensor. Can you believe that? A $20 sensor. It was $300 labor, which we could not afford. The safe house paid that. And so another thing that happened during that time was my husband, he moved out of our rental house that we have lived in for 4 years. This house that we love, that you've seen in all my videos. He left. And in our town right now, we're having a huge influx of people move in. So to find a place to live here is impossible, and it's incredibly expensive. Our rent went up $500 when my landlord found out what was going on in our life, which was jaw-dropping. But I didn't care. At this point, my faith was through the roof. Like, God was taking care of us to the point where I was like, $500 more a month rent, it's not going to matter. God's going to take care of it. He's going to make a way. I was like, that's it. Like, he's getting us out of this situation finally. And I just threw myself into the Lord like so much. Like, everything just came out. He confronted all of my doubts, all of my fears. Any doubt was gone, like gone. And so he kept showing me again and again, like through various ways, I got this. Everything you need is going to be provided. Like, he would show me vehicles in town that literally had stickers on them that said things like, everything you need is going to be provided. What? I haven't seen that vehicle ever in our town, nor have I seen it since. It was printed on the side of the van. Another vehicle that said, "I got this, God." Like, another one said, "problem," and then it had "no problem" upside down. Like, every time I would hit some weird struggle and I would be like, oh my gosh, this is going to be, I don't know what's going to happen, God would literally show me like a vehicle with a saying on it that was like, "Don't worry." And I knew, I was like, all right, I'm not going to worry. My authority was in not worrying. I can't believe the power of not worrying. I did not realize how powerful it is to not worry. Huge. I didn't realize the power of the authority that comes with not defending yourself, with not fighting back, with not playing into the drama that's going on. Because all during this time, my husband was closing our bank account. Like, we had no money. He was threatening me. He was accusing me. He was cussing me out. I had to block him. So I had no help from him whatsoever financially with the kids. He's just accusing me of all sorts of things, telling me, "You should have gone to the safe house." But little did he know I was in the safe house at the time. And so I tried to block him, but I could still get his emails. Even though I blocked him on email, his emails would still come through. And I wouldn't even read the whole thing because I just didn't want to take that poison in. But I would see the first line and I would know, like, he is so far gone. He is so far gone. He has no clue what reality is right now, which is something that dab does to people. Dab is like 100% THC. If you don't know anything about it, it causes people to go into psychosis, which means they hear, smell, see, and taste things that are not there, and they can't tell the difference. They are totally convinced of a truth that isn't real, and we know it, but they don't know it. They can't know it. So I knew, like, I can't fight this at all. I can't argue with him or anything. So we were in the safe house for a month, not knowing if we were going to be able to afford our place, but just believing like it's going to be fine. Like, we're going to apply for government assistance. We have to. Like, I'm not getting child support. It's going to be a while before I get child support. I'm not making a profit in my salon yet. Like, I don't know. So I was really scared to move back into our house, even though he had moved out. It was totally trashed in a very disgusting way, partially because we had lived here for 4 years with like 2 dogs and 3 kids in a 2-bedroom. But it was also, he was here for a while with just him and his dog and not me, and the house was disgusting. It was bad. I mean, it took me 3 days and 4 giant trash bins just to clean out what was in the kitchen that shouldn't be in a kitchen. That wasn't my stuff. It was his stuff. 3 days. I mean, it took me 3 weeks to clean this house. I had to shampoo the carpets 4 times. It was horrendous. Repairs out the window. Like, I couldn't believe the repairs that it needed. I was coming out of pocket for a lot of these things. The landlord's complaining because we had to have a plumber come because there was a sewer gas leak. He wasn't happy about paying for that. And I'm like, dude, you don't even know what I'm paying for to get this house straightened up. But I didn't want him to know about any of it because I was scared he was going to kick us out and we would have nowhere to go. We would have to leave this town. I would have to close my salon. Like, all these things were, I was literally hanging off of a cliff by a thread, not knowing, but believing, knowing, like, I don't know what's going to happen, but God is doing this. He's going to work this out for us. And he did. He literally just worked everything out. So we had help paying our rent, which was incredibly expensive. And it's expensive now, but it's paid until January. August through January was paid, which gives me a chance to get like start getting child support, which will more than cover my living expenses in this place and my car. The whole time my husband was threatening to take my car. He was demanding that I give it back to him. And he wanted to give me a vehicle that was breaking down that we didn't even fit in. We couldn't even get all of us in it comfortably, you know. He was demanding that I give him back this vehicle. So we'd had a protection order in the past, and I had canceled it because we had to move back in with him. And the safe house girls told me they're not going to approve this. I needed him to stop harassing me because I know that we have to go back to normal life. He's not physically abusive. The judge is going to grant him visitation. Like, you know, like, he's got to stop harassing me. And so the girls at the safe house said, he's there, it's not going to get approved because you canceled that previous restraining order, protection order. And so I was very livid about that. I couldn't imagine why that would be a thing. Why, you know, like, everything that he ever did is gone in their eyes, and that what he'd done now wasn't enough, that I didn't let it escalate far enough for it to be bad enough for them to approve it. So I was pretty upset, not happy with that at all. But the safe house was wrong, and it did get approved. I went through with it anyway, even though they told me not to. We canceled it a few times, even the court hearing, but then he would keep doing things like, I let the kids go to his house after we moved back into our place. And upon me coming to pick them up, he threatened to kill himself in a text. So I had to get a police standby to get the kids out of the house safely. He played victim the whole time, said that he never said it. It was in a text. And so we were able to get a protection order. It was approved. He's still violating the protection order. He is still harassing me. My kids are with him right now. He will not stop harassing me. I don't respond hardly. I don't really read his texts. I use very few choice words, and I just let him know, like, you're violating the protection order. It's your choice not to violate it. Like, just, you know, like, you gotta stop harassing me. And he's just trying to coerce me into a divorce agreement that doesn't involve me having a lawyer. And he has a lawyer. And he is livid because he's not winning, even though he really thinks he's the victim. And that's the sad part, is that he's not my enemy in any of this. Like, we should be like normal married people and have a disagreement and have a normal married people can have a serious catastrophe like this and work it out. But he is so in denial that he can't even fathom that he has done anything wrong. He does not think he's done anything wrong. He thinks that everything he's done is fine, and that I have no right to say that it's not fine. So I'm just completely enraptured in the level of freedom that the Lord has given back to us. And there's about 1 million songs that God showed me during this time that helped me know where to keep my heart and how to see this, and that this is my testimony. And it's been incredibly powerful. I mean, I just have no desire for intimacy or a relationship or getting into another, you know, marriage or dating or any of that. I mean, I'm 45 years old. I would rather not even care about my appearance the way I have been in my previous videos. That's me. That's the true me. But I cannot support my kids unless I do what I am skilled at doing, which is being a hairdresser. And people don't trust you if you don't look a certain, you need to have maintenance. So I'm all about looking great and not being high maintenance. And so I've got a lot to teach my clients. That's what this is all about, is now I get to meet all these beautiful people that are in our town. And now there's a reason for them to trust me. And now there's a reason for them to get to know me. And now they're like, wow, you're awesome. I'm like, I'm getting told I'm awesome and I'm worth a lot. Like, for the first time in years, I'm not worthless to anyone. I am useful. I am, I have this fantastic reputation in my town now in such a short time. People are just enamored by my skills and my integrity and my concern. My life is a ministry. Everything I do, to me, is a ministry. And I can't believe the growth that God has put me and my kids through, the resiliency of my children to go through this. I feel people ask me, like, how are your kids doing? And I'm like, we have our times. Like, we all have our times when we're emotionally weak and we have big feelings. But these kids, all they've seen is me pray for their dad. They have not seen me tear him down. And that's where the power of this is. That's where the authority has come from, is me not taking sides with the enemy, me not playing into it all. And so the Lord taught me, he showed me this very, very powerful testimony about Jesus when he was being crucified. And he told me this the other day. I posted it on my Facebook, and he said, Jesus's very life was less important than how he treated his abusers. It was worth losing his very life to show utter kindness and respect to those who literally were going to take his life. That caused resurrection to happen. It is why he has authority, because it's worth giving up your physical life to not be in the wrong. And it causes a massive flood of life to happen. And it's been the ultimate lesson. This lesson's been going on in me for like 4 years, and it was hard to wrap my head around it until he said that. And so I think that a lot of my kids, we had parent-teacher conferences, and their teachers are like, they don't seem like they've gone through anything. I'm like, well, first of all, it's because their dad really wasn't involved in their life. Second of all, it's because God brought me to a place where I had nothing else but to lean on the Lord, which meant that I was not willing to let the enemy use me as a puppet to play into this at all, which gave me complete authority. And all my kids saw was that. They didn't see me tripping and talking bad about their dad. They didn't see that. They didn't see that happening. So I was honest with them. I did tell them what was happening. I did tell them what their dad was doing. But I never used foul language or degraded him or talked bad about him. It was always prayerful. It was always concern for him. And that's what he doesn't know. Like, now that he's going to be around my kids more, he just has his own idea of how this has gone down. He showed the kids a picture of who he thinks I'm cheating with, which is so absurd. And the more he's around the kids, the more he'll see, like, no, mom's not doing that. Mom doesn't do that. Like, mom doesn't want to do that. Mom doesn't have time for that. Mom's all about moving on and love and growth and really relying on the Lord in a way that is far beyond what I even thought possible. And so I thought it was probably time to let you guys know like where I've been and what's been happening. And now that I'm back, I'm working on music again. Wait, which side of the, yeah, this side of the room. I'm going to be working on music again and posting more videos. But I've got to get my dexterity back because I haven't had time to practice. I just literally even haven't had the strength to even practice for like a while now. So I am back to practicing. The Lord wakes me up in the middle of the night and says practice. So I'm practicing. I'm working through pain from a neck injury from 30 years ago. That's been bothering me. I was healed of it for an entire year. I've been praying for the Lord's healing again. I decided to start seeing a different doctor for that, and I've been living with 2 ribs being out of place for a while now, which explains so much of my pain. So it's going to take a little bit of time to get that back. I need to strengthen my core, strengthen my muscles around those ligaments and joints and cartilage and bones to keep those things in place, because right now I get adjusted and they just pop right back out of place, and it's very painful. And I don't like to take medication, and most medications, depending on if it's the ribs bothering me or if it's the neck injury bothering me. If it's the neck injury, there's nothing I can take. Nothing dulls it. I mean, nothing. To the point where I could drink a whole bottle of wine and I feel nothing. No buzz, nothing. Like, wow, nothing affects me because something's being pinched. So, yeah, no over-the-counter pain medication helps. They say that what they would have to give me would make me completely incoherent. So I just don't, like if I'm feeling the pain from my ribs, I can take something for it, but I really don't like to do that. Like, it's not what I want to do. So because I'm kind of a health type person. I like natural remedies and natural things, and I believe in the body being as clean as it can be in this world where we're surrounded by nothing but toxins. That's a whole nother video. But I really appreciate the love that I've gotten from the online community. Yeah, the online community has been, they reminded me constantly that I was an incredible, amazing person, which is only by the grace of God. I cannot take credit, but this was all ordained, and I can look back and see how God used all of this to teach me how to be close to Him and to grow me and to, not that He caused these bad things to happen because I chose it. Oh, it was me. I chose this, to be in this relationship with this person. But I didn't know what I was getting myself into fully. I saw the red flags and the warning signs, and I still went down that road, but I had no idea the consequences. And did God cause that? No, He did not. But instead, He sat there with me through all of it and grew me. He turned it all around. He turned it from from ashes to beauty, He made something out of it, which is just incredible. I mean, to see all these Bible verses they're just sayings until God really does it. And then you're like, oh, now I totally understand why that's in the Bible. My goodness, this is epic. It's epic. My faith is through the roof, and I have other things on my heart and in my mind that are going to be coming up, things that I'll be sharing. Prayer is I'm still praying out that window over my whole town all the time. And God is bringing people into our town that are amazing, strong Christians. When I was sitting there in isolation, not knowing where the heck are all the on fire people, God's bringing them here. They're coming, and I'm getting in contact with them. And the environment in my salon is beautiful. It's just so everything that I would want it to be. Like, I just feel the Lord smiling. I feel Him proud of me. I feel like I'm on the right path. Like, I got involved in a kingdom motherhood society for parenting classes, and it's just amazing. I mean, the work that God is doing in my parenting skills that I never even had time to. I knew I wasn't being the fully equipped mother that I wanted to be, you know, and God has just brought me those tools. He's put these people in my life, and now I'm just, you know, like I'm surrounded by people who appreciate me, and I feel like I want for nothing right now. Like I have no longings for anything. I have no like, ooh, I wish this, and oh, I wish I had this, and things would be better if it was like this. Oh my gosh, no, I don't have any of that. Like it's gone. I have none of that. So I feel weird to be like lipped up and makeuped up and hair. Like I feel very weird in that zone, but it's genuine. It's just, it's trust. It's to let my people know, like when they come in to get their hair done, they feel at ease, because it means a lot to them how their stylist looks. And so they trust me right off the bat, and then they just don't think about what's happening with their hair, and they trust me to talk about personal things with me. So that's why it's important that I have, my identity is not wrapped up in the way I look at all. I'm still that girl that doesn't wear makeup and has imperfections all over the place and still feels comfortable with that, you know, like I'm still that girl. But now I can really minister to people in a way that doesn't shove religion down their throat. This has been, and I'm sharing my testimony with people, and they're just like, because they don't even know what kind of childhood I had. Like you guys don't even know. Some of you know, but some of my subscribers that don't know me, you guys have no idea what my testimony was before that. Like, woo! Oh, God is, He is good. He has done some very serious things for me. So yeah, that's what's been going on. Thought I would lay it all out there for you guys. Don't have to keep it a secret anymore. We're gonna be going through the divorce soon, which isn't gonna be a problem because we don't own anything. So there's nothing to fight over. You know, like I'm not against him seeing the kids. I just want him to stop harassing me, and that's already been enacted. So yeah, there's like nothing for him to take from me. There's nothing that I want to take from him. There's nothing to fight over. Like we're just gonna, you know, be done with it. His biggest fear is paying child support. That's always been his worry, because money is everything to him, and to have to share that with someone is like incredibly hard for him. He's so materialistic. He really can't fathom having someone else having any kind of say over him whatsoever. So that's what I ask, is for you guys to just pray for him, because the Lord has showed me many scriptures, and they're all written down, and the dates that he showed them to me in my little notebook that you guys probably know about if you've seen any of my previous videos about his destiny, and that he will come to know the Lord. He will probably go through a time like Nebuchadnezzar did. The Lord showed him that, specifically showed him the scripture about that, and he didn't understand. His veil was completely black and couldn't see through it to know what that meant, but I knew what that meant. And he will come to know the Lord, and it's not going to be it's going to be that gentle Lord, but in the meantime, the consequences will come for him, you know, and that's not something I wish on anyone. I don't wish that on my husband at all. So I don't feel that he's a criminal. I don't feel that he is a terribly abusive person. I feel like he's just a puppet for the enemy right now, and he doesn't know it, and he just doesn't know it, you know. Like all the prayers that I prayed about God getting through to him in a way that only God can, none of that's going to come back void, and I know it. So so that's my theme here, is I don't wish bad on him. God's done a major work in my life. God's going to bring him back around. Do I think we will be married again? No, I don't. But that's not for me to say. I'm not counting on it. I'm not like, I used to always hope for that, but now I feel set free from it. And now I feel like I could live the rest of my life without a spouse and be completely happy. So that's where I'm at. I just want to focus on the Lord and not be not available. I'm not available. I'm spoken for by the Lord, which is what I used to say when I first got saved when I was 18. When I would get hit on, I would say, I'm spoken for by the Lord. And that confused people. They didn't understand. They're like, are you a nun? I'm like, no, I'm just never going to compromise again. I am never going to compromise again. And I'm never going to let adversity take my faith away again. Like, I learned my lesson. That was the consequences of letting that happen to me was more than I could bear, and God had to rescue me out of it. Thank God he did. So I just wanted you guys to hear about how that, oh, there's so many other things I could say, but this video is way too long. So I thank you and appreciate you for praying for me. All of you who prayed for me, you didn't even know what you were praying about. You didn't even know. Most of you, a lot of you didn't know. Some of you, a few of you knew what was really going on with me. So God made it something, he's like, he made it into something beautiful, and now it's going to blossom, and it's all going to become evident what this is for. Like, I know he's going to use me to minister to people. So amazing.